Great to have you with us. Now, the new Cath Mother and Baby Unit, built as a result of Joy News' special assignment, has been commissioned. First Lady Rebecca Ekufuado spoke at this commissioning ceremony held at the Komenda Teaching Hospital in Kumasi just a few minutes past. She congratulated and lauded the multimedia group and its journalists and the media in general for the work they do in covering developmental issues.
Today is a happy day for us all. This is in sharp contrast to how we felt when we first saw the documentary Next to Die by Multimedia's Seth Kwame Boateng. I remember thinking, we are better than this. How did a country like Ghana with such potential get here? I was not alone in my outrage. I remember the Second Lady, Samira Bamia, who unfortunately cannot be with us here this morning, was equally outraged. From all over the country, there was an outpouring of indignation and outrage, anger, and shame that we had done this to ourselves. The vulnerability of our mothers and children had exposed our vulnerability as a people. That was when I knew that we needed to act. Our two fundraisers in Accra and Kumasi, in collaboration with the Multimedia Group, galvanized the whole country. Immediately, the outpouring of anger gave way to an outpouring of giving, equipment, supplies, checks, cash, mobile money transfers poured in for the project. Women, men, corporate bodies, and even children sent in their contributions. We broke ground on the 29th of May 2017, and work began. On the 11th of October 2017, I came to inspect the progress of work. Now, I need to confess this. What I saw was way beyond what I had imagined. Again, on December 9, 2017, I saw the images of the completed mother and baby unit. It was simply overwhelming to see what all of us had done in just 5 short months. So here we are today, and I stand here a fulfilled woman. I stand here a grateful mother. I stand here proud of my people. We did it by coming together as a people. We provided a place where our mothers and babies can receive care in dignity, with all due respect to people who give us life and to future generations. This facility we are commissioning today is a world-class one. More importantly for me is the fact that it is the only green hospital in Africa, certified by EDGE of IFC and the World Bank. I emphasize this point because I believe Ghana needs to go green in the construction of public facilities. This will save us money over the long term and help preserve our environment. I'm truly proud of the work of the contractors, African Building Partners. Thank you so very much.
Our Health Minister Kweku Agyeman spoke a few minutes before the First Lady there. He charged managers of the facility to maintain the current standards there.
Excellency, we can't hide our joy. We are so happy, and we can only make assurances and promises to you. You toiled, solicited, visited, supervised. You talked, gave instructions, did all that you could do to let us realize a dream that you came up with. If you are not able to make very good use of this facility, First Lady, I think we will come to you with canes for you to lash us. So that is a promise that we're going to make very good use of the facility. And that will be the obligation of the board, the CEO and management and staff of Komenda Teaching Hospital. If you should come back in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and we do an assessment, and you have failed us, it will mean that you will have killed the spirit and the vim the First Lady is moving. So the rest of us in the country, also managing other facilities, will not benefit from her largesse. So, Konfanochi Board, the chairman, Nana, you are here, the CEO, you are here. I want us to come and do an assessment almost every quarter to make sure that the facility will continue to be in the state as it is as we move along. That will encourage the First Lady to give us a few more of these facilities.
Now, away from that story, but still with issues relating to that part of the region, the country, the leadership of the Fulani community in Ghana are calling for a compensation package for some of their kingsmen who they say have lost over 1,500 cattle, estimated to cost about 6 million Ghana cedis since last December. Speaking on behalf of the group at a press conference here in Accra, Professor Sheikh Osman Barry called on President Akufo-Addo to halt with immediate effect what he described as ongoing hostilities against Fulanis or nomadic herdsmen. The Operation Cowleg team tasked to flush out nomadic herdsmen from Agogo in the Ashanti region and other farming communities in Ghana have strengthened their efforts to stop the destruction of swathes of farmland by cattle who are led by nomadic herdsmen to graze on lands. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba joins us via phone with updates. Maxwell, if you can hear me, what's happening currently at the press conference?
Well, the press conference just ended, and as you rightly mentioned, the Fulani leadership here, community, the leadership of the Fulani community here in Ghana have been, raising a couple of issues. They say that they continue to witness with dismay the unfolding events involving their kinsmen folks and the lifelong herding profession in this country. Yes, they say they observe with heavy hearts the callous, indiscriminate killing and raiding of hundreds of cattle which belong to their people, a thing that they say clearly signals a deliberate subsetting of them to economic vulnerability. Now, they say that they've been the leadership says they've been reliably informed that some unscrupulous people suspected to be from the surrounding communities where some of these activities are taking place have exploited the chaotic situation created by the joint military and police team to launch attacks on the Fulani, killing, and then some, while looting their properties mercilessly. Now, they are also saying that in recent development, they're alleging that a police officer who was assigned to Agogo in the Ashanti region was quoted to have uttered a very unrefined, unprofessional statement. They say they describe the Fulani herdsmen as enemies of Ghana whose lives must not be spared. But unknown to him, they were reliably informed that there were more than one Fulani personnel among his team, and they raised issues with that particular statement. And as it stands right now, they are still not happy, even within happy with some elements within the security services. They are saying that they're respectively and humbly calling on President Akufo-Addo, who is the head of state and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, to use his good office to intervene in order to bring their ongoing hostilities to immediate end. They say they believe and strongly trust that his patriotic conscience, which moved His Excellency some few years ago to travel to the Gambia to redeem the dignity and the legitimate rights of the innocent Ghanaians who were murdered and buried, a similar concern and patriotism must prevail in this case of the Ghanaian Fulanis. And they say that they will equally appeal to the United Nations to also intervene in this particular matter. They stated that they've sent copies of this first statement and this petition to the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, the General Economic Community of West African States, His Eminence of the Sultan of Sokoto, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and a lot of other top people who have been copied in this particular petition, Daniel.
Right. So have they given any ultimatums, any timelines for these persons they are presented petitions to?
Well, they are saying that if we do not receive this compensation package that they are demanding, they would advise themselves in taking another action very soon.
Thank you very much, Maxwell Agbagba, for that report there. Now, the Komenda sugar factory in the central region is not likely to produce sugar for the next 1 year unless drastic measures are taken by governments to promote sustainable sugar plantations to feed the factory. This is the outcome of a study by a team of researchers from the University of Cape Coast, UCC, who worked on a spatial assessment of sustainable feedstock supply to the factory. Speaking at a stakeholders forum on the findings of the research titled Assessment of Sustainable Feedstock Supply to the Komenda Sugar Factory, a principal researcher of the Department of Environmental Science of the UCC, Dr. David Oscar-Yosin, said the factory was nowhere near readiness to begin operations.
The Komenda Sugar Factory was inaugurated by President John Dramani Mahama in May 2016, but was shut down almost immediately for lack of raw materials to feed it. The factory, which was reconstructed through an Indian Exim Bank loan, has the capacity to crush 1,250 tons of sugarcane per day, but stands shut till today. The shutdown of the factory has sparked many concerns from residents of Komenda because government continues to spend $200 million annually to import sugar into the country. Presenting the research, Dr. Yosin said it was not possible for the factory to mobilize 10% of its raw material needs within the industrial recommended 40-mile radius of the factory. He said within that boundary limit, the factory could mobilize only 16,000 tons of sugarcane, which is less than 10% of what the 300,000-ton capacity factory needed to run on an annual basis. Under the circumstances, he said, steps must be taken urgently to set up sugarcane nurseries and plantations immediately if the factory was to serve its purpose.
From the materials I have read, the factory needs about 125,000 tons per day. And as we heard from the discussions, at the moment you would need to get about 300,000 tons of sugarcane, which the current production is nowhere near at all. If you look at our study, you cannot even get 10% of what the factory needs a day within the industrially recommended radius, which is 40-mile radius. You cannot get even 10% of what the factory needs per day. But as I said from the beginning, if we're able to convince farmers to commit land to sugarcane production, or if we are able to secure land for plantation for the sugar factory, the factory should be able to sustain itself. With what is there at the moment, based on our study, I do not know the inside workings of the factory, but it is nowhere near what the factory requires for it to run.
Participants called for a sugar development policy to give direction to the government's undertaking to produce sugar locally, thereby reducing sugar imports.
Feasibility studies were done initially, the expected employment gains, the expected revenues, all that were done. So definitely there's a potential for the Komenda factory. But there were certain critical questions that came to the fore. One of our colleagues raised the issue of asking who owns the factory. I mean, everybody will say that it's a government-owned factory, but the underlying fact of the question is that what is the extent of government commitment to see the factory work? What is the extent to which the government would want to see the policy document come out as soon as possible? To what extent are we going to have an implementation plan? To what extent are we going to have an orientation forum? We all need to psych ourselves up in readiness for the factory. Until that is done, we're going to deal with it in a piecemeal manner, and I don't think that is very good for the factory.
The research was undertaken with support from the Directorate of Research, Innovation and Consultancy at the University of Cape Coast. Richard Kwadwo-Nyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Now, moving on, more than 1,000 residents of Abono and other communities in the Lake Wosumtwi area of the Ashanti region have benefited from a free medical screening. The Ghana Association for Medical Aid is examining people for conditions such as blood pressure, diabetes, and glaucoma. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah was there and has filed this report.
As early as 8 a.m. on the first of a 4-day exercise, hundreds had lined up waiting for the team. It's the second destination after attending to close to 2,000 health seekers at Kwawu in the eastern region.
Have you ever been to the doctor with that?
Yeah.
What is it?
The US-based group formed 6 years ago puts premium on preventive medicine.
My name is Akosia Sewa Buadu. I am the Vice President for Ghana Association for Medical Aid. We are based in New Jersey. It's just a group of friends who are in the medical field that we decided to come together to help our community. So basically, we do a lot of teachings in churches in New Jersey and New York area. We started doing this because we realized that a lot of Ghanaians, our own people, end up coming to America and they end up coming back in caskets.
With the way he talks,
patients underwent normal checkup for high blood pressure, sugar and cholesterol levels, among others. Doctors were worried about late reporting of ailments to hospital for treatment, as well as irregular checkup.
So my name is Dr. Andrew Badu. I'm a nephrologist. I'm also an internist. I'm from the U.S. The thing that we found most of the time is that most of the patients have the disease of high blood pressure, diabetes, but that's a disease that you see everywhere. Unfortunately, the most troublesome issue is that people don't know how to go seek for help. They don't know that they are sick. They don't have the initiative to go for the preventative care.
Any family history of glaucoma, anyone ever?
People who are screened for eye defects receive glasses and medication for free.
Yes, my name is Dr. Winston Scott. I'm an eye physician and surgeon and ophthalmologist, and I'm also a founding member and president of the Caribbean Medical Mission. Cataracts is very prevalent. Unfortunately, a lot of the cases are very advanced and need to be surgically treated pretty soon because most of these people are not seen at all. We also see a lot of patients who simply need glasses. Presbyopia, or the need for glasses after the age of 38 to 40, is probably one of the most prevalent problems that we find.
Children, many of them with ringworm infestation and allergies, had their share of care.
You know, they play around, toss around on the floors and everything, but they don't really know how to clean themselves. We have to teach them. We have to let them know the consequences of these diseases.
Usually, beneficiaries will be given prescription to buy drugs, but on this occasion, they got them together with food supplements at no cost. Reporter for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, moving on, the Ghana Integrity Initiative is calling on governments to begin e-procurement of goods and services immediately. Corporate Affairs Manager Michael Bwedi says innovations like this prevent corruption. Michael Bwedi was reacting to the president's statement during the recent media encounter that Ghana has made savings of 145 million Ghana cedis from sole sourcing and restricted tendering in 2017. Mr. Bwedi, however, says government should also look at passing initiatives which will prevent incidents of corruption rather.
One thing, talking about procurement, is that the country pledged during the 2015 or 2016 Anti-Corruption Summit, the 29th May, London Anti-Corruption Summit, that one of the things we're going to do with regards to procurement was e-procurement and debarment. If you go to the website of the Public Procurement Act as we speak today, the e-procurement is not there. That is how many months down the road. If you go to their website today, it is only the World Bank debarment that is there. Ghana's debarment to procure people who had infractions with procurement is not there. And we believe that, look, if one of the, you see, part of the things that the president should also be addressing or be focusing attention to is not only just to appoint somebody appoint a minister for procurement, but we must also be seen to be building integrity systems in the corruption risk areas of the country.
I like the way you put it, corruption risk
areas. That's right. You know, because you see, there is a huge problem with procurement in this country as far as corruption is concerned or transparency is concerned. So you put an e-parliament. One of the things that e-procurement was supposed to do is that we publish every procurement, the bidding process, who won the contract, who is doing what, and what is at the website. So citizens would have access to it, and then where there are infractions or where there are problems, citizens can volunteer information. This has not been done, and I believe that going forward, the president must help build integrity systems.
Michael Bwedi with GII there. Now, to help us understand these issues further, is President of Ghana Institute of Purchasing and Supply, Collins Agyemang-Sarpong. Sir, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. So you've heard Mr. Bwedi there, and a few days ago we heard the President. But what is your assessment from a professional standpoint of how Ghana is doing in that procurement space?
Well, I think last year when all these appointments came, we were very happy. Now we have a minister in charge of public procurement. We have a professional managing public procurement authority. Even the chairman of public procurement authority, the board, is also a seasoned procurement professional. Those at Central Tender Review Committee, also the chair is also a professional. Again, during last year, you heard the statement from the presidency that any procurement or sole source that is going to be about 50 million need to come to cabinet for them to look at that. So from the professional point or from the institute side, we are very happy that there's been a lot of commitment shown by this current president or government. So yes, they've been in power for 1 year, and even for the president speaking to the media and coming up saying that, hey, this is what we've been able to do. From last year, it was so much. This time, in terms of sole source, we've moved it from this figure to the other figure, and restricted tendering. So you can see that there's that commitment to making sure that the procurement space is sanitized, which we are very much happy for that. Again, for the president to even put it out there that, look, being able to stop this type of way of doing procurement, this is how much is saving the country. And we always say that when you give procurement opportunity, we will put value on the table. So for now, I can see we love the commitment from the top down. So the commitment shows that yes. However, what is left for us to do is to get in the right people at the right places. In the Act 914, it's stipulated that every government institution need to have a functional procurement unit. And when we say functional procurement unit, it means that there should be a unit set up basically for procurement activities, headed by a professional. I think that is what is lagging a bit, but from where I stand, I know that the PPA and even the Chief Executive Officer, when we launch our Code of Ethics, he mentioned it, that's also another area that he's going to push, making sure that all government entities will have professionals running that. And when we get to that, then we can say that, hey, now you have the commitment from the top, because procurement is from the top. And once you have the commitment and you have the professionals running the process, I believe that the sky will be our beginning.
Speaking of commitment to proper practices in procurement, Mr. Bwedi of the Ghana Integrity Initiative just drew our attention to a commitment made by government, well, the previous government in 2015, to begin e-procurement services. We have not seen that yet. Do you know how much that is costing us as a nation?
Well, e-procurement would definitely come to increase the efficiency within the system. So it is a good tool. And I think it's long overdue for the country to have e-procurement. Some corporate sectors do have e-procurement, and it is something that is good. You have visibility of your spend. You know, you can see the risk inherent, and the approval spectrum is clear for everybody to see. And therefore, Collins or any procurement officer or any boss sitting anywhere cannot sit in their offices and just give a contract to anybody and it is gone.
So
but once the system,
transparency.
It gives transparency. You can know how much you are spending on a particular supplier, and you can come out with strategy for those suppliers. You will know the items that you are buying. There are a lot of people who doesn't even know the total spend in relation to procurement for a year. They don't know, because they buy this year, they buy this, so now you need to get some clerks put your Excel sheets and come out to know how much we are even spending on even chairs. But with e-procurement, when you pull out your spend analytics, it will tell you how much you are spending on.
Since we don't have this system, we could say we are shooting ourselves in the foot.
Well, I mean, it is technology, and the time is now for us to embrace that. But last year, it was in the news. I think the PPA CEO mentioned it, that the contract had been signed. The people that are going to install it were even in the country. And I hear they've even appointed the hosting agency. I hear it is National Information Technology Agency, NITA, right, that is going to host it. So I know that they are working on it, but as to where they are now, from latter part of last, I think it was somewhere in September where they launched it. And
so you think they should expedite the process?
It should come. Okay. It should come so that we can have full view of some of this spend. So we can.
So you would agree with the GII here?
I would agree, but I don't think that e-procurement is the only thing that is going to solve our problem. And I've spoken about e-procurement. We need to take time and also implement that.
Okay.
Because it is not just a phone that is there everybody is using. If you have the time to e-procurement, the platform is like a whole country. It's a whole company. It speaks to itself. So they need to also take their time to implement that. There will be training. Who is going to do what? Who is going to host it? Do you even have data?
I'm sure we would have the time to unpack all the issues as regards e-procurement. Yeah. Thank you very much, Colin Sajman Sapon. He's the president of the Ghana Institute of Purchasing and Supply. We go back to Kumasi now, where host of the AM show, Mama V.O. Swabaji, is standing by at the new Efia Kovi Sewampim, the second mother and baby unit at the Komenda Teaching Hospital, a result of a story started here at Joy News with the support of all of our viewers and partners. Mama V takes over from now. Was enjoying today. My name is Daniel Daz. We'll be going back to Kumasi shortly because Mama V has more information about that mother and baby unit, which has been constructed at the cost of 11.8 million.
But we're not feeling it yet because it is still pretty much excitement all around. Live from the Komenda Teaching Hospital, and here we actually commissioned together with the Rebecca Ekufuado Foundation, lots of dignitaries passing through. We commissioned a brand new ultra-modern facility, the new mother and baby unit. And this is coming because of our campaign, Save a Child, Save a Mother campaign. That's, this campaign arising out of Joy News special assignment, Next to Die. And today we're talking Next to Die, the impact, the results, and it's such a blessing. It started with Seth Kwame Boateng telling the story of how children were dying here at the Komenda Teaching Hospital because of lack of space and babies contracting infections because they've had to share cots. So you found 4 or 5 babies sharing cots, but the good news today is because of the commissioning of this facility, this new facility, this story is history really, because there are 30 cots and there are 3 theaters, which means that you can have 3 cesarean sessions going on at the same time. So it's a beautiful facility that was commissioned here at the Komenda Teaching Hospital with the First Lady, Rebecca Ekufuado, and her foundation really collaborating with the multimedia group and making this happen in just about 5 months with lots of contribution that was possible because of really our viewers, our listeners, ordinary people who live in Ghana and outside Ghana as well. Since the beginning of our coverage of this commission and this exercise, we're proud to say that McAutley Capital Limited has been our partner. McAutley Capital, your investment Authority. But there's somebody that I spoke to a while ago who's a local government minister, a woman who's been a women's advocate as well. First of all, I wanted to know what brought her to the Komenda Teaching Hospital, and then also we touched on a very important subject of how do we maintain the facility. Fascinating response from the local government minister.
And actually, I was in Kumasi on other matters. But when I heard about this program, I said I must be here. It is so exciting. Indeed, when I saw the documentary initial one, it was so sad. Then there was another documentary after the building was done. You know, sometimes you can weep out of joy. So I was so happy, but I was also, tears started flowing. But it's something that has shown that if you put your mind to something, it can be done. We all talk about maternal mortality. We all talk about infant mortality. And we always talk about these are the kind of activities that will enable us achieve that goal. Not only for the MDG, but even for Ghana. We need to ensure that our children stop dying at birth. And again, when mothers go to deliver, you're going to deliver the most important resource of the country. For you to die because of lack of facility or because of lack of attention, that is so sad. And this is a great example. She's shown that when she puts her mind to it, she can do it. And she knows she doesn't talk much. She's an action woman. She's done it. And it also indicates that when people decide that they will do an activity, we should support them, especially those who mobilize their resources and put their resources at it. We should identify people who can take action like that and support them resources. Like we say every time, it's not government delivers, but when individuals too are up to the task and they want to deliver, we should mobilize resources and support them. And this will go a very long way to help us moving towards achieving lower infant mortality figures in this country. I'm so excited about it.
A suggestion as to how we can maintain this facility, since that is the worry now.
Honestly, I feel that Ministry of Health should budget for maintenance. You know, when we talk about gender budgeting, gender budgeting is not something that is in the skies. It just means that this is a facility that women and children have access to. So when you are doing your budget for the year, put in something to maintain the maternal and child unit of Komenda Hospital. Put some money in the national budget. If others contribute, fine. But Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and Komenda Teaching Hospital must put it in their annual budget. I think it is very fundamental. Budget not for allowances, not for services, not for salaries, but budget for maintenance. And they know the job. They have skills in the job. They know what to do to provide the maintenance. So for me, I think number one line, put it in the budget. And they will even be applauded for gender budgeting. If they do that, put it in the budget for maintaining this place.
It's great to see such wonderful results achieved, of course, with your help. You're still watching Joy News today. My name is Daniel Daze. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, campaign coordinator at the Integrated Social Development Center, Dr. Steve Mantiao, has described government's justification of President Akufo-Addo's announcement of reduction in energy tariffs or electricity tariffs as inadequate. He says though government may have identified ways to reduce the tariffs, these proposals should have been submitted to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC. The president announced that non-residential users of electricity in the country would enjoy an average of 14% reduction in electricity tariffs. This is despite the fact that in the 2018 budget, the finance minister announced a 13% reduction. Barbershops are set to enjoy 18% reduction, and for hairdressers and beauticians, 15.7% reduction, according to President Akufo-Addo. We have with us on the phone lines Dr. Steve Mantiao, who disagrees strongly with Energy Minister Boakye Jacob, trying to justify the comments made by the president. Thank you very much, Dr. Mantiao, for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So what reason do you have for disagreeing with the president's announcement, even after that explanation given by Energy Minister Boakye Jacob?
Well, thank you very much. I rather find the explanation or the justification as very feeble, in the sense that it departs from the established framework for determining power tariffs in this country. Even as I say this, I recognize the fact that government is a key player in the tariff fixing arrangement. And government's role is limited to the imposition of taxes and levies in the price builder. And so government will have to submit its what you call a tax level or levy to the PURC. That is all that the political authority does. Then we have agencies of state. These are technical institutions, DRA, Electricity Company of Ghana, Grateful, and the rest. To the extent that there is a foreign exchange component in the input for their operation, they also have to submit their cost to PRC. And that cost will also include efficiency costs, because the PRC has a responsibility not to allow the passing on of inefficiency costs to consumers. The ones the PRC have taken all this data, they'll have to sit with consumers, which is another key stakeholder in the tariff fixing arrangement. And then we can all have a discussion.
Right.
PURC plays the role of a referee. And at the end of the day, we come to a compromise position, and then PRC will declare what the tariff level will be.
Right. Now, Doc, according to the Energy Minister, they have identified some elements of the tariff currently which can be removed. For instance, the cost of transportation for natural gas is currently the same as that what transports the gas from Nigeria to Ghana, even though the gas is being transported from within the country, from Atuabo, from Cape 3 Points, I should say, to Atuabo. And they have submitted those proposals to the PURC already. He has admitted that the PURC may have a different reduction or increased rate from what government has suggested. Does that not satisfy these requirements you are putting out?
Precisely the problem. Maybe it's a matter of miscommunication, because what the president should have done was to make the point that government has submitted proposals to PRC for consideration. It may result in some tariff increases, because there are also other stakeholders who have to also submit data to PRC. But to go categorical and say that the tariffs are going to come down by this percentage, for me was rather unfortunate.
What danger, Dr. Mantiao, does this pose, the president's announcement?
The danger is very grave. I wonder what will happen if the parameters change. Let's say the strength of the cedi weakens tomorrow, and that warrants that the tariffs go up. Will the minister or the president have the same boldness to come and declare to Ghanaians that we are going to adjust the power tariffs upward? And if that will happen, then we must as well abolish or dissolve the PURC. But I shudder to think that they will have the boldness to come to Ghanaians and declare that tariffs are going to go upwards when the time comes. And that is why we want government to distance itself from the tariff fixing thing. They should play their role, which is the role limited to the determination of tax and levy level. If, for instance, the minister had said, or the president had said, I am abolishing the energy sector levy, even that, they can just announce it, but not to say that because of that, the tariffs will come down by this margin.
Okay.
They can just announce what they are doing and leave PRC to do the calculation and determine the levels at which the decrease or increase should come.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Steve Mantiao, for your time. He's the campaign coordinator for ISODEC. It's now time for business with Emmanuel Abajiriafi. Stay with us.